Hello everyone, we are Let's Make Art and I'm Nicole Miyuki and I'm here to teach you all about lettering. We have a subscription box that has all the supplies and we letter weekly with a new project. So this week what we were learning and what we're working through is this project. And there's two, I guess kind of two. My face in between. So if you look at this, you can kind of see that they're very similar, but they're slightly different.
They're very similar.
They're very similar, but I'm going to train you to see why they're different.
Perfect, thank you.
So in this project, the supplies that I'm using is I'm going to be using 3 different Tombow dual brush pens. Again, if you have any other different colors or any other different types of brush pens, please feel free to use it and just follow along. The ones that I'm going to be using are 993, which this is the...
Yellow gold?
No, that's the other one. This is chrome orange. This is the one that looks like yellow, but it's called...
That's right.
Yes. 933 is... Gotta check my list. This is just orange. And then 885, this is the new one that we're working with. And this, it looks like kind of a pinkish, but this one's called warm red. So those are the 3 that we're working through. I'm gonna use a pencil and eraser. The paper that I'm using, the final project is gonna be on Bristol paper. It's a lot smoother and it's a thicker cardstock. That's great for the final piece. And then I created a few downloads that will be what we'll work through in the exercise. If you don't have the box, that's also available on our website at letsmakeart.com in the lettering section. And then, so the steps that we're gonna go through them to help guide you through, there's gonna be 3 of them in this one. The first one is I'm gonna teach you how to look at lettering as shapes, which is why those 2 look very slightly different, but I wanna kind of break it down and show you that. The second one is we're gonna go through the pencil sketch to lay out your final project. And then the third one is using the brush pens. So let's get started. With everything, I'm going to, well, you can either use printer paper if you don't have these sheets printed out, but let's actually want to give you a different view of, if you're looking from the top, why these look a little bit different. So what I'm looking at is, especially if you look at the O's, this is a lot more oval and this one is a lot more circular. So it feels, this one's a lot more wider and this one's more skinny. And so it's not that I changed the sizing. What I did was I actually changed the shapes. So in these handouts, there are 2 different ones that we're gonna be going through that I want you to practice with. Is this one has more circular shapes and this one has more oval shapes. So this is something that I want to break down to help you see that when you look at your lettering and you think, that's just the way I handwrite, there's nothing I can do about that. I want to challenge you on that, and this will help you see that if you change the shape of it, it can create a whole different feeling and a whole different style. So as we're going through this, we can start, I'm going to start with the circular shapes. So when I'm using my brush pen, we're gonna do the same concept of thin on the up, thick on the down. So thick on the down. So I'm taking up the entire shape, or about. And then the B, so thin on the up, thick on the down. As you are doing this, it will help your muscle memory to see what's happening. So this one is the first one that I don't have a guideline. So you're gonna do it on your own. So you're gonna go thin on the up, thick on the down, and you can choose to either do a straight line or you can choose to add a little loop. So I'm just gonna do a few of these so you can see. If you are new to using brush pens, a few tips is A, B, C, D, E, F, I gotta count. Or count, oh gosh, is figuring out, so the F is a different one, but what I was gonna say is figuring out your grip. I want you to grip however you feel comfortable. I just want you to feel like you have control. So I tend to grip my hand closer to the tip rather than up higher. I feel like I have more control. So the F is one that is a little bit different than the standard block print F. So you can decide, I'm not so worried about the height of the letters right now, I'm more just worried about taking up a majority of the space. So in comparison, I'll just do the F specifically for this one. If I were to do it skinnier because I have this shape, then on the up, so I'm gonna curve it. These loops, as you can see, are tighter because it's a skinnier shape. So I'm gonna go through and do these ones. Thick on the down, thin on the up. Another thing is that I want you to think about, or you can think about, is the pressure. So I'm choosing to lightly graze and I'm really pushing. A, B, C, D. Then on the up. If you're not familiar with the foundation strokes, you can go back and watch the third of our beginner lettering series, and in that there's a PDF. I think it's the third one, second one, third one.
You said third earlier.
I know,
so
I did say third.
You.
Okay. P.S. That's Keenan, who's
yeah.
guiding me. Anyway, so in that one, it's called Foundation Strokes. That one, there's a PDF that has it. You can download it, and there's different practice strokes that you can practice, but they're actually called foundation strokes because they make up every single letter. So you saw when I was writing the D, I drew a C. So if you look, you can see I drew a C, and then I drew an L. So I really want to break it down, and this will help you go slower. And then do one more. So you can see that these look very different, and I also realized I pressed a lot harder. So the cool thing about this pen that you also can manipulate is the thicknesses. So if I were to, I'll just draw this again. If I were to draw these all again, but maybe apply medium pressure, it would look like that. But I'm still following these shapes and making sure that I stay within it. So you can see that those feel a little bit different, and it's the same exact shape and the same exact size. All this difference is that this line is a lot thicker, and that's created because I added more pressure. Now, when I'm comparing these two, this is what I was saying as to why that these two look different, is because this is more circular and this is more oval. Put that right here. And then looking at this is more circular and this is more oval. So maybe if you tend to write more, I would say most people tend to write more circular. If you're in that camp, maybe you try and practice the entire alphabet that when it's in these oval shapes, and try and train your hand to kind of see what's going on. And that will help you moving forward as we move into the words. Go through that. Then that's step one, just getting accustomed to the different shapes. For this project, what I also created was a printable guideline. So with this, it's gonna be the same concept, but I spaced them out, and what we're gonna do is that's gonna be where the connections is, because the connections is another thing. When you move on, it's helpful to practice the ABCs individually, but when you connect it, it might be something else that you're trying to figure out, and it's okay if that doesn't come as natural to you. There's also another, I don't know where that is, but there's another PDF in the series. If you go through all those, that it'll show the entire ABC's lowercase alphabet connected, so it'll help you see. But what's happening is that, the way I like to say is that one letter is grabbing out and reaching the hand, trying to reach your hand, Keenan. Leaving me
You want me
hanging.
to throw my hand in there?
I'm just kidding. You're reaching out a hand and grabbing the next one to connect it. So that's kind of what's happening, if you want to think of it that way.
I like that.
It just helps me.
They're friends.
They're friends. So when they look at this, is if I were to do this, I'm going to write one.
Sneak my hand in the camera shot.
I was just kidding. That's an O. But when I'm connecting it, so I'm going to choose to connect it. You can totally leave an O just like that. It doesn't need to be connected. Or you can have the loop going like that if you want. But if I want to connect them, I'm going to bring this a little bit lower and then kind of curve it around like that. So I'm going to use a scratch piece of paper. I am not going like that. By creating this loop and then coming back up, because in our foundation strokes, where is it? Yes, so it's like this one, but think about it being extended and connected like that. So I'm connecting it, and that will create that smooth transition. So what's happening is you're kind of trying to create a rhythm rather than creating these sharp points. It will just help guide the eye throughout the entire word, and that's what you're trying to train yourself to train other people to look at it like that. So you look at it like that, and then, oh, I'm gonna keep going. So if I erase this guy, so creating it, I'm gonna connect it. So like I said, extend that end of the stroke, come up. So there's that. Oh, I also should mention, you'll notice that of A, I decided to leave out. This is all personal preference. As you're going through this, I should have said in the beginning, you don't have to do your layout exactly like this. I would actually encourage you, because the quote is one of a kind, I want you all to do it on your own. I just also want you to feel successful, and so I gave you this to kind of help you as be your guideline. But I want you, you're obviously gonna insert your own lettering. So when you're looking at this, you can choose, maybe you want to train yourself and maybe you add little ovals for the of A, which would totally work. Or so what went through my head, and I want to always guide you with showing how I figure this out, is so I noticed that the of, because it has a extension at the bottom, the descender, I realized that it would kind of hit and go into my end. So that's why I just decided to do a block font. And the beauty about this is that you don't always have to do script. You don't always have to do a block font. You can mix and match. And I think that's the fun thing about lettering, that you can make it your own. So that's why I decided to make a block font. Oh, and also I should mention, even when you go through that, so I'm totally skipping around, but I want to use this as a lesson, is this is the circle version and this is the oval version, which is why they look different. But I wanted to be specific about even the block font, so you can mix up or you can manipulate even the block font. So that looks different than this. And actually I'm going to do it here so you can see more. So this is the circle version. So what's happening is I'm just making my letters a lot wider. So you're thinking about it and stretching it out, and especially you can even tell with the A. That was a big exaggeration, but that versus...
That's how I write my A's.
What?
Real wide.
Really? A-T, like a small T. So you can see that those feel so different, but all it is that tiny change. So that's why this will help you train yourself, because I can naturally do that, and I know it's because I've drawn so much, but this will really help you to kind of be able to see it. And again, like I said, you can draw yourself a guideline if you want, but I want you to be able to see that that's how you can change things up. So I'm gonna do a Keenan A.
There it is.
For his last name. Okay, actually I might as well just do it one by one. So this O, I guess I don't need to draw it over, but I did.
I actually don't know the last time I purposefully wrote my name.
What? That's why we're here.
I mostly just type it.
Yeah, that's why lettering, that's a great thing to say, Keenan, because that's why lettering, I feel like, has become a craze now. It's because we're all searching.
Yeah, sorry, I interrupted.
You're good.
What's cool about the lettering is,
I love it.
or I think why it's so cool right now, is because we've lost some of the handwriting art.
Yeah, oh, 1000%.
So I think it's amazing right now because people are like, whoa, this is gorgeous. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you don't see it very often.
No, never.
Yes, I 100%, 1000%. I don't know why I say 1000%. Agree.
That's a lot of percent.
I don't know where that came from. Okay, so then the K. When I was doing this, you can decide is, I like to add, this is just style preference, I just want to break it down for you, is you can decide to have a curve or a loop on your K. So I sometimes will just write it like that, or, oh, I realize I have a small loop right there, like that, or I like to make it with a loop like that. And then I realized if you were here for or if you did the journal project, I talk about the K and how I did it in OK and how I extended it. With that, I also realized that I did it here where I did not connect my K here, and I ended up making a little, I like to call it making a little home. So it kind of nooked. Is that a word? Nooked. Nook. In a nook. I created a nook. I created a word.
Nice.
Nooked.
Nooked.
Oh gosh, and created a little nook and a home for the eye to sit in. Oh boy. Okay. So when I'm doing it on my guideline, I'm not gonna hear the end of that one. Okay, so I'm drawing my K, and this is the first time that you're having, well, I guess on the end too. You don't have to feel like you have to go all the way. Again, this is just a guideline. You don't have to follow it specifically. It's not like a rule. So I'm gonna draw it like that, and then I'm gonna create my little nook.
Nice, nooked. You nooked that area.
Gosh, no, I don't. That does not sound very intelligent. Okay. The eye, so with the eye, because you can see is obviously it's always going to be skinny. You can't really change it. But what you can think about is the distance between the shape or the different letters. So what I mean by that is this versus this. So I'm still taking up a circular shape or a circular spacing, even though it's in the oval, or even though it's in the oval. So what I mean by that is I'm gonna still take up and extend it, and actually I'm gonna mimic this same connection for the end. So what I was referencing is you can either go like that and then just start a straight harsh line, but what I like to do is I'm going to create that foundation stroke and kind of curve it like that. So that's another way you can change it up. N, D. And then what happened was when I was looking at this, I realized that there's a lot of negative space down here. So what I did is I created this little flourish and curved it because I didn't want to make an X like that. So by creating that little loop, it kind of guides the stroke to come back around and create another little home or a little nook for your whole kind letter to sit under. I love it. Oh, here it is. Okay, I'm gonna finish this one. So the K, I extend it. So you can see, especially on the ends, how different this circular one is versus this oval one. Come up. And I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna curve and go like that. So the reason why I wanted to do both of them was just for you to see, you can totally pick which one you want to make on your final one, or you wanna do both of them. And maybe you give it to someone else. That is totally okay. I just wanted to show you that's how we do that. And then we're going to move to the last step, which is just the final project. So with your brush pens, I'm going to, this is pretty dark already. So I'm gonna use a light box, and if you don't have a light box, that's totally okay. You can either, the life hack, what do you call that, a life hack?
I like the life hack.
Right?
The lettering hack?
Oh!
Unless, that sounds mean to lettering artists.
Lettering people. Can I do this? Yes! No, I didn't do it.
Just
Gosh.
touch it.
Okay. Anyways, what's gonna happen is I can't do it very fast. You have a glass baking pan. I cannot talk right now. Glass baking pan. You put it face side down. Put your phone underneath it, and you will have your flashlight because you will be able to use it, and you won't be like me. And it will show and shine through. And what's happening is that you will see, if you use this and you use your Bristol paper, you would be able to see, but I can't show you. I did it in one of the videos, right? The first one.
You did.
You'll be able to see it. Anyways, that's a life hack. Or you can use a window. What I'm going to use though, because I do have a light box, is this guy. So, which one do you want me to do, Keenan?
Do the I
circular?
like the round one a lot, yeah.
The which one?
The circular one. I like that one a lot.
Okay. So, yes, I can see it. So I can see my pencil sketch through. If you can't, what you can do is you can use a dark marker or a Sharpie. I also suggest this could be an opportunity for you to practice your thin on the up and thick on the down. So remember, that's what's happening, and that's how we're creating this style. I'll do it once just to show you.
Can I add one quick comment about the light box?
Yes.
So for some reason, ours is very dirty, and we don't know why. We think it's from the eraser shavings. So if that happens, I would suggest cleaning it. No, not like a dig at you. I'm just saying, because they might see it as a spot on what they're tracing.
Oh, you are great. This is why you're here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you see a spot?
No, I'm just saying if you keep it dirty long enough,
Yeah,
it might happen. You might not think of it now, but later maybe.
Good point. Okay. Well, clean your light box before you use it. Note to self.
We're not sure how it got dirty.
Because I've only had this for a couple days. Anyways, if you also need, if you kind of move and shake and can't stay still, you can tape your guide down. So I'm just using painter's tape, and then put this back on. Oh, I realized I was gonna do it, but I'll just go through the thin on the up, thick on the down as I draw. So if you saw in my example, there was a pattern. We're just gonna do the lettering first because I wanna show you that. Okay. So I'm using, this one is the warm red.
Yep.
Yes.
Or
yes.
as it was going to be read, warm ward.
Warm ward. I spelled it wrong. Oh, and you will totally hear that fun noise. Okay, so I want to mention that is a very long stroke, and I felt my hand cramp. If that happens to you, just lift back up and then start again. Because I know that this happens, that a lot of people want to do it really quickly, all in one stroke, and I really want to kind of guide you to take a step back and allow yourself to be calm. And you don't have to do this fast. You are tracing something, so you also don't have to feel like you're going to mess up because you're tracing something, so it's okay. So I'm going to take a break, and then on horizontal lines, you can choose to make it thin or you can make it thick. I decide to usually make it thinner. Thank you, Keenan.
I just didn't want to verbally interrupt, but since you looked directly at me and giggled, I'll interrupt. Thank you for moving your hair.
My hair was in the shot, which is good because we care. We want you guys to see what's going on. So come
At one point, I felt like I had lovely locks of just moving my hair.
Moving your hair. So I'm going to go thin across. And then I have said this before, but if this is your first time watching the videos, whenever I do have to lift up, I always say to overlap instead of starting exactly at the right point, because it'll help create a smooth transition. So I'm going to overlap and then go thick on the down, thin on the up, thick on the down, thin on the up. Another thing that I noticed that I haven't talked about in this video that I want you all to remember is that as you are going through and drawing your letters, especially because this is such a big letter, and if you really want to be able to look at it from far away, maybe you want a thicker line versus a thinner stroke. So what's happening is that so if I were to do the E again, watch, there's a difference between if I am drawing vertical straight up and down, there's a difference between that, and if I were to draw more at an angle, I can get more of the thinner side of I can get a thicker downstroke because of the way that I'm using the brush pen. So this is harder to get a thicker line, whereas this is a lot easier. So if you're noticing when you're doing this, maybe experiment and see, okay, if I notice that it's not as thin, can I go attack the letter at more of an angle? So keep going. Okay, so now I'm going to switch up the color, use orange. So here's a prime example, actually. I'm going to really think about it. I'm going to angle my hand so I can really get a thick line. And then on the K, I know you're going down. I tend to apply medium pressure, so it's not light, but it's not super thick. That's personal preference. And then here's another thing that I wanted to show. On the K, this is, again, personal preference as well, is when you're coming down on that stroke, you can go from thin to thick even within the stroke. So maybe if you can decide, okay, I want it to be all like that, or you can create a variance and go thin to thick to thin.
That's a cool one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Thanks. So that can kind of create, and again, you're kind of training the eye to look at things a little bit differently. So you are creating that by creating a different variance of thickness within the stroke. So I'll do it one more time. So thin, thick, thin. So you can do that. And I usually like to end on a thin, so it's kind of leading it and guiding it rather than a thick hard stop. But again, actually that's a totally different style. If you want a thick hard stop, it has a kind of a stronger look, whereas this one has a more organic, free-flowing look, which is what I tend to do. But again, do whatever you want. There's no right or wrong. So I'm gonna keep going. The eye, so thick on the down, thin on the up. So my hand started to cramp, so I'm gonna let go. I'm gonna overlap a little bit. And then thin on the up, thick on the down. So this I'm going to take in the different foundation strokes. So I'm going to draw a C first, and then I'm going to draw a D. So I know that this is a very long stroke. So I might stop right there and then lift up. And then actually, so I know that when I draw, my hand tends, when you're going that way, you very rarely go that direction. So that's why it feels a little bit awkward at some points. So if you know this, I know this is going to happen to me, that is harder for my hand to do. So as we say, you can work smarter, not harder. And because you already have this, you know what you're drawing, I will never know if you start from the end and then go.
Sneaky.
So you can totally do that. And then I'm gonna wait to dot my I because I want to. I'm trying to see if I can see this. Draw my of. Oh, is this why you chose this one, Keenan? Because it has your A.
It's got a good A.
It's got a good A. And then I'm gonna dot it and go right there. So we have it all written out. Then what I want to show you is for the details in the last step, so making the pattern. Actually, I forgot there's one other thing that I wanted to teach you, is creating a shadow within your letters. Where's my final? So if you look at this, I added it's a line, but it creates this shadow, so it creates this different look. And what's happening is that I brought for show and tell. Oh, I need my flashlight to work.
This could get awkward.
Yes!
Nice!
I did it! This has been a sore subject, if you're wondering why. I'm really excited to use my flashlight.
Not so much a sore subject as just a challenge.
Fine.
Maybe
okay.
a sore subject for you.
Okay, so I brought this for show and tell because I want to show you that what's happening, I feel like I want to turn it off for now and talk to the camera. So what's happening is that when you're creating a shadow, is that you're gonna think about where your light source is. So you can choose, there's no right or wrong. Are you choosing to have it in the upper right-hand corner? I guess if you're looking at me, is this your right? This is my right.
That's
is this
your
their right? Is this their left?
That's their left, yes.
Okay, this is your left. Oh, that's interesting. Anyways, whatever side you choose, you can have it come up from the bottom, you can have it come from the side. Whatever you choose, just keep it consistent throughout your entire letters. So my show and tell was, if you look at this E, I brought this because it's thicker so that it creates, so you can see what's happening. So when you're looking at this, it's really bright in here. Okay, Keenan, tell me if you can see that.
I can see all the things.
I can see all the things. Okay, so what's happening is that I'm saying my light source is from this upper right-hand corner. So can you see the shadow that's moving? So the shadow is right here and right here. And what's happening is because the light's hitting here and everything else, so it's blocking the light from coming and appearing on this side. Whereas if I move and I tell the or if I move my light source up here, it's the opposite. So it's really light over here and then it's getting blocked, so it's creating a shadow up over there. And so if you were to just do a bird's eye view and your light was coming from up top, there would be no shadow anywhere because it just disperses. So you can choose where, I hope that makes sense to everyone.
I liked it. It looked good too.
Thanks. So in the example, I chose to have my light source. I typically draw on the left side of it, which means that I'm thinking that my light source is coming from over here. So what's happening is that's why you see is all of this. This is blocking that, so the light's here, and that's creating a shadow over here. So when you're doing that, so if my light source is over here, pretend like my flashlight's over there, the light is hitting here, so it's going to create a shadow over here. And then it's also going to create it right here. And then another fun thing you can do is you can lightly, oh, I forgot to mention, I am using the other side of the Tombow dual brush pens because there's two sides. I'm using this, you can totally use this side. I just wanted to experiment and try and use this side because it's a lot thinner. So what's happening is on the K, it's interesting, technically if my light source is coming from here, it's hitting right here, the tip of that, so the shadow would technically be right here and you wouldn't see any. So you can do that, or if you choose that the shadow or the light source is from over here, it would hit here and you would get a shadow here. So I'm just gonna add that just to create some more, look.
Texture.
Thank you.
Depth. Shadow.
So I guess technically, so the other thing, I don't want to get too technical, but if you think about it, this is a thicker line, so it'll create a thicker shadow, whereas this is a thinner line, so it'd create a thinner shadow. So that's technically, I might just not,
The battle within, what do you do?
Gosh, what do I do? As long as, I don't know. Do I want it? Do I not? No, I don't want it. Do you think I need it, Keenan?
No, I think it looks really cool.
Right, so this is what you can decide. Do you want a shadow? Do you not? Technically, I think there should be a shadow there, but I'm just not going to do it. I really like the way that looks. So that's teaching you about shadows. Well, you can add that later on to other projects. I just wanted to show you. Then the final piece. So when you're looking at this, you have all this negative space and you can do whatever you want with it. Do you want to add stripes? Do you want to add we did a sunburst in the first project, or the bubbles we did in the second one. So you can, the
bubbles would be cool too.
The bubbles would be totally cool. So you can decide. I wanted to give you another option and show you. So I created, this is also an outline that you can download. So this was just a grid that I created. And if we use this light box again, whoops, so if you were to do something like this, let me line this up. Okay. You are just not going to continue this line once you get to the letter. And I wanted to use my what was this? Chrome orange, that's actually yellow. I need to remember that, chrome orange.
Chrome orange that's actually yellow.
Or to me, it's yellow. Would you say that's yellow?
Yeah, it looks more yellow than an orange.
But it's okay. They must have thought
And
for
I
some
thought
reason.
chrome was like a silver.
Actually, well, maybe we'll need to educate ourselves, but I totally think the same thing.
Because like chrome wheels
Yeah.
on a car, which are separate from a tire.
Inside joke. So I wanted to create this pattern so that you can also get practice on your thin strokes. So technically, I'm not telling you to draw thin upstrokes, which you totally can. But if you watched the journal project, I draw my straight lines and I like to draw them down. So when we're doing a big straight line, but I want you to do is I want you to practice lightly grazing because you're still getting to know this brush pen. I feel like I'm still getting to know it. So I'm going to lightly use the tip and I'm just gonna pull. And you can see how light you can get. If you want to use a ruler, you totally can, but I actually want to see if you can just use, so I'm letting go right there. I want to see if you can just use, or not use one. Oh, I'm hitting the tape. Because these lines don't need to look perfect. So if you look at these, that's kind of off right there. That's kind of off. It's super minor and it really doesn't matter. The viewer is going to see the whole thing as a whole. So let's lift that up a little bit. So the other thing is that I'm better at drawing towards me. So I'm going to rotate my paper. So you can choose, well, it's moving. Choose how you rotate. I think, so Keenan, you can fast forward through this.
Why would I? This is cool.
Watching me draw?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It seems so smooth.
I guess I can talk. So if you see my hand, I guess I'll show, I want to teach you guys. So the difference if you're practicing drawing a straight line, and I know this is something that you might not be used to if you're not used to drawing. I'm not stationary and I'm drawing like this and then trying to move and then drawing like that. So I am just the same way that I'm lightly grazing the tip to the paper, I'm also lightly grazing my hand. So it's going like that motion. So
you're using your entire arm to draw that straight line.
That is also a very good point to call out, yes. So I'm using my entire arm, which actually in lettering, I don't do that as often. I know with watercolors especially, that's a technique that is typically taught. There's different times when you use it, but yes, in this point, I'm definitely using my entire arm. So I'm gonna keep going as I'm talking. So I'm using my entire arm and I'm gliding across the paper. Oh.
Tricky, tricky touch button.
Touch button sensitive, okay. And then flip it and the other thing is that if you're like me and sometimes your hands get a little clammy, you can, and you're nervous on messing up, it is totally fine. This is completely, well, it's dry, so you will be fine, but if you want, you can have a piece of paper. So again, see how light you can get it.
Like a bunch of pro tips.
Yeah. This is how I learn as I go. Trial and error, figure things out. So I'm gonna let go there. Oh, lift it up a little bit. So I think it's cool if you skip a little bit. Oh yeah, there. So you can decide. I decided not to, even though there's space right there, I decided not to continue the line. That can be a personal preference. And then Did I mention paper here? Oh yeah, I did talk about the Bristol paper, that's what we're using for the final paper. It's so smooth. Okay, so there we go. And then the final thing that I wanted to kind of go with, since we were talking about shapes, is that I was just drawing on some of the cross hatches. I just decided to draw different, I did circles because this one was circles, but you can draw shapes any size you want. Maybe some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. This also just creates a different look, and then you also don't have to have it on every single one. I don't know, for some reason it kind of has, do you agree, Keenan, has like this little shimmer to it when you look at it? I guess, I don't know,
I think
shimmer's not the right
it
word.
makes me think of a net, actually.
Well, it could look like, that's not really.
Sorry. It may not be as glamorous, but it seems like the one
I went from shimmer to
got caught in a net.
That could totally like a soccer, I think of a soccer net.
Yeah. 100%.
I love it, yes. It doesn't, I don't know, we went from shimmer to. It just creates some depth and variance to make it one of a kind, so you can figure out, you totally don't have to do that. That was just something fun. So that is it.
That's awesome.
That, I am really excited to see what you all do, how yours is one of a kind and true to you. I hope you had fun. So this lesson, we were really focusing on the shapes, and hopefully you can see lettering's a little bit different. Now probably when you go walk outside and you see a font at a store, you're probably gonna look at things and wonder what shape is that. So I hope you had so much fun. There's a couple ways that you can connect with us. We have a Instagram that's called Let's Go Make Art. And then there's a Facebook group where there's a community of people who are learning and growing just as you are. And I encourage you to share your work and show us what you're creating. And that's Let's Make Art Lettering. And the last thing is, if you do not have our box, you can still get that, and that will have all the supplies. And again, we create paint. I don't know why I said paint again. We letter a different project every week and continue to learn and grow together. Thank you.